Before we begin, let me ask you one thing. Have you ever reached a moment in life where you felt completely stuck, helpless, and invisible, wondering if God still hears you? Asterisk, if yes, then listen closely, because this story might mirror your own heart more than you expect. The story takes place in a lonely mining town, surrounded by silent mountains and harsh winds. In that town lived a man named Yusuf, a miner whose life was shaped by darkness quite literally. Every morning before sunrise, he walked into the deep tunnels of the earth, spending hours covered in dust and sweat, earning just enough to keep his family fed. His hands were cracked, his shoulders permanently bent, and his eyes carried a sadness that even his wife Mariam had grown used to. Life had not been kind to Yusuf. His father had died in a mining collapse when he was young, leaving behind unpaid loans and a broken family. Yusuf never had a chance to dream of school or a different future. He grew up believing that life meant struggle, hunger, and silence. But the deepest pain in Yusuf's heart was not poverty, was hopelessness. His daughter Aisha was ill, their savings were gone, and medicines were costly. At night, he would watch his wife trying to sleep but failing, her mind consumed with worry. Some nights he stood outside their small wooden house, staring at the sky, asking silently why Allah had written such a difficult life for him. He didn't say these things out loud, but they lived inside him like a slow fire. One cold evening, after a long and heavy shift, Yusuf finally broke down in a way he never had before. He sat on a rock by the road, covered in coal dust, too tired to walk home. Tears fell silently as he whispered the kind of prayer that doesn't come from the lips, but from a crushed heart. If you can hear me, if you truly listen, then please, show me a way. A prayer without fancy words. A prayer full of pain. The next morning brought something unexpected. The supervisor announced that a new, unexplored tunnel section had been discovered. It was dangerous, unstable, and risky. No one wanted to inspect it. The workers looked at each other, waiting for someone brave or foolish enough to step forward. And surprisingly, it was Yusuf who raised his hand. Not because he was fearless, but because he felt numb. When a man reaches the point where life feels harder than death, danger stops feeling dangerous. He entered the new tunnel with only a helmet, a pickaxe, and a small lamp. As he walked deeper, the air felt colder and the silence thicker. Each step echoed like a warning. Water dripped from the ceiling. The tunnel narrowed. Yet Yusuf kept going, swinging his pickaxe into the rock. Hours passed in utter darkness, broken only by the sound of metal hitting stone. Then everything changed in one terrifying moment. The ground beneath him shook. A loud rumble tore through the tunnel. Before he could react, the floor cracked open and Yusuf fell into a deep pit. His body slammed against sharp rocks. Dust filled the air. He tried to move, but a crippling pain shot through his leg. It was broken. Above him, the tunnel had collapsed completely. No light, no way out. No sound except his own breathing. For a moment, he thought, "This is how I die." Buried underground like my father. He called out, but no one heard him. Hours passed. Darkness surrounded him like a blanket. He felt cold, helpless, forgotten. And in that terrifying stillness, something inside him broke completely, not his body, but his pride. He whispered softly, "Ya Allah, I am alone. I have been angry at you. I stopped trusting you. But right now, in this dark place, you are the only one I can call. You save me. I will never forget your mercy. I surrender everything to you." These were not words of a man begging for life. These were the words of a heart returning to its creator. And at that exact moment, when he placed all hope in Allah, something extraordinary happened. As he shifted his injured leg, his fingers brushed against something solid and smooth. Curious, he touched it again. It felt different from the surrounding stone. He pulled a piece closer to the faint reflection of light coming from somewhere above. His eyes widened. It was gold. Not just a tiny piece, but a thick, shining vein of pure gold running across the rock beside him. His breath trembled. His heart pounded. He scratched away the dirt and revealed even more gold, more than he had ever seen in his entire mining life. "Subhanallah," he whispered, tears filling his eyes. "Is this real? Ya Allah? Is this truly happening to me?" But he was still trapped underground. The gold meant nothing unless he survived. Summoning every bit of strength left in him, he broke off pieces of stone, banging them against the tunnel wall, hoping the sound would reach someone. His hands bled. His voice cracked from shouting. But he kept going because now he had faith that Allah had placed him here for a reason, not to die, but to rise. Hours later, faint voices were heard above the collapsed tunnel. Lights flickered through cracks. Then ropes lowered. Workers dug into the rubble, calling his name. When they finally reached him, Yusuf was unconscious but alive, holding a small chunk of gold in his hand, like a gift from fate. He was rushed to the hospital. His leg was fractured but treatable. And when the mining company inspected the pit, they found the largest gold deposit ever discovered in that region. Yusuf was named its official discoverer and legally entitled to a massive share of the profit. Overnight, his entire life changed. Medical bills were paid. His daughter Aisha received proper treatment. Their home was repaired. There was food, peace, warmth, and for the first time hope. People called it luck. The company called it coincidence. But Yusuf called it something else entirely. Faith, he often said. Allah changed my darkness into light. I was buried under the earth, but my faith lifted me higher than I ever imagined. After recovering, Yusuf began helping poor miners, supporting families, and volunteering at the mosque. He shared his story everywhere he went, telling people that sometimes Allah doesn't immediately change your circumstances, He changes your heart first so you can recognize His blessings when they come. His daughter grew up healthy, became a geologist, and always said, "My father didn't just come out of darkness, he came out shining." Years later, when people asked him how his life transformed so dramatically, he always smiled and responded, "I did not find gold underground. I found God. And when a person truly finds God, He gives them more than they ever expected." And today, as you finish listening to Yusuf's journey, ask yourself, if his life changed through faith, what is stopping yours? Sometimes the tunnels we fear the most lead us to the treasure written for us. Sometimes the deepest darkness brings us to the brightest light. And sometimes your miracle begins with one sincere prayer.